maybe somebody would survive. And sure enough, I came. Nobody knew me, and I couldn't find anybody. So my husband and I wrote to this place, which is an international tracing bureau.
Mm-hmm.
And they wrote to me, yes, I was born there, my parents' name, and where I have been. Because I'm not sure that I knew that I had been in Bergen-Belsen. But very often I would say to myself, how do you know that? You know, you go on a trip or something, and you go and you think you were there, but you don't even remember the name of the city that you've been in. What? Everything that I thought I remembered, that I doubted, now I have papers, including, as I said, I found my parents' marriage license, and I found my adoption papers, and I found a lot of different things. This is, we can look through all of these different, I found my name on a list in Bergen-Belsen. And I have lots of books about it. And I have pictures from Sweden. And this is the DP card, the Displaced Persons card. And there you have to give a lot of information, including your profession. And do you know what my profession was?
Kind.
Kind.
Okay.
Like a kindergarten. What do you think it means?
Like a child.
Exactly. That was
Kinderach.
Kids, right. So that was my profession. And this was me in Sweden. And here, where they're looking for me, and they say father in Poland, which turned out to be not true, you know. But, so I found a lot of different information. And in 1984, we made Aliyah, and both my husband and I were retired. And he started writing and doing things, and I started volunteering in Yad Vashem. And I started guiding there and doing different things. And then people asked me to speak, to give testimony, which I do now. And I think it's very important. And this year, I think Bagrud is doing this. I don't know if they've ever done this before, but I've had a lot of interviews for kids who have to do it. And they're doing some, I don't know if you have to do this, but this boy, Ben David, has to write a whole paper, and he's amazing.
Yes, we have to do.
Well, I don't know what you're going to choose. I can tell you what some of the other people chose. Maybe I shouldn't tell you. You tell me what are you choosing?
For this paper, we have to just write down the interview. For the other paper, we have to do a whole Shelat Cheker. We have to do 2 projects this year in history.
Yeah.
One, we have to interview a Holocaust survivor. The other, we have to interview someone who fought for Komi Medina.
Uh-huh.
So the teacher said for Komi Medina, we have to make is the one that we have to not just focus on the interview, that we have to do more research, like that we have to do more research. Here, it's optional, but I know I'm probably we're going to Poland, we should do more research about this.
Yeah.
It's important to be prepared.
There's a lot of research, but what he's doing is how children survive in hiding and under false papers, and what happened in concentration camps. How does any child survive in concentration camps, and what were the things? And then somebody else is what it does psychologically. Does it last with you or not? And somebody else is doing about whether any religious ceremonies or anything that people did. Like you talk about this man with the talus. It was after the war, but there were things during the war also. So I think that they're doing, really interesting things. And I think it's wonderful because survivors are not going to be around very much longer, and it's going to be your responsibility to make sure that it's not just history, but it really happened. We have a lot of Holocaust deniers and revisionists who tried to say that it didn't happen. By going to Poland, by going to Yad Vashem, all those pictures, 90% were taken by the Germans. They're not denying it. So we have to do this. And when you go to Poland, you get this feeling, I've been there and I have to do it.
How did you find your birth certificate?
In 1989, I went to Poland. Yad Vashem had a trip, and I hired a guide. Matter of fact, I have her letter even here in Polish. It's in Hebrew, but it looks like it's Polish, not in English. And here, this. And she took me to the Hall of Records, and that wasn't bombed. Neither was the synagogue. The synagogue is now a library, but that town, many of those places are still standing. And she asked the secretary there that I'm looking for my birth certificate. And the secretary said, fine, give me your American passport and I'll look for it. And I said, well, the name in the American passport is not the name I'm looking for. Rena Quint is not Fredja Lichtenstein. My birthday is not what's in the writing. My mother's name is not there. My father's name is, I mean, nothing is there. And she thought I was a little crazy, you know, you're looking for your, and so the Polish woman explained to her that I had all these different changes, and she went through all of 36, because I was born, Fanny's birthday was February 5th, I wasn't there. She went through 37 and went back to 35 and found it in December 35. But they have these big books, like a book like this, so she had to go through different years, and I found it. Then I went back to my house. I knew the address from here, in Sweden. It said that I lived in Platstjärnetskigo, number 2. So we went back there. I had the address. This is the pictures of the synagogue, and this is this is, by the way, Rabbi Lau and his wife. This is me and Rebecca. This is where we were rounded up, and this is the woman living there, and the address. And look what we found on the door.
It's from the mezuzah.
This Polish woman never saw the mezuzah. But it's been there. You can see it's been painted over many times, but that's how we found it.
Did you, when you went back to the house, did you like remember it? You were very
I was
young.
very happy to see the mezuzah, because then I knew it was definitely a Jewish home. And I knew the address. I didn't remember the address, but I had it from the papers from Sweden, which somebody else. And the woman did remember my father. I did not, no. I took pictures of it, sitting over there. This is the entrance, and this is the floor, which...
It's still here, there, you have?
That was
This is it. Whether it was the original floor or not, I don't know. Looks like the stairway was the original one.
yeah.
And whether any of this furniture belonged to my parents, I don't know.
Okay. I think she answered all the questions. What's the last question? Is still relevant. So the teacher wants to ask the last question. Looking back, what do you feel was your part when you look, since the war, there's a Jewish state, there's Israel. What was your part in in Chama Medina and also in part of Am Yisrael? What do you feel?
In 1945, I was all of 10 years old.
Right.
So I didn't do very much to do anything about the birth of the state. But I feel very strongly about being Jewish, about being Zionistic. We came to Israel because we think this is the Jewish country and we want to live here. And had I lived in Sweden, I may have been a good Christian Swedish woman. But I was adopted by a Jewish family. They did do a lot to help the Jews. They were very Zionistic, and I'm sure they contributed, but they were living in America. So they didn't work to build it, except maybe to provide money or something of that sort.
Do you remember when, during Chama Medina, do you remember hearing about things that were going on in Palestine?
I remember when the state was born in 1948 that everybody was, everybody happy and dancing and things like that. And of course I've seen lots of pictures. But I was too young to really be part of it. But I remember the Six-Day War, where by that time I was a mother, and our kids came in, and my oldest daughter said, we have to take all our sheets and cut them up because they need bandages. Which of course the money would have been better than the sheets at the time. But this is what she came home, and all the kids came home we were very much afraid that Israel would be completely taken over after the Six-Day War. We were so enlightened because the news was that Tel Aviv was gone, and Jerusalem was gone, and Haifa was gone, and we really believed it. So, and I belong to Emunah and to Amit, and I have Hadassah groups here to speak to them, and I work now in Yad Vashem, so I'm very involved with Israel and with Israeli issues, and I've gone to Poland with the March of the Living and with different high schools and post-high schools like Medreshet Lindenbaum, or schools in Los Angeles. There's a group called Shalhevet, and different other schools like that. So, but I really can't tell you that I had any part in building the state.
You were always Zionistic. That's really.
Yeah, I was brought up
It's
by
like my grandfather. He lived in America his whole life. He came to Israel only he passed away before I was born, but he came to Israel only like right before he passed away. Like
What was
he
his name?
Oh, it was Papa Mori. He was Mordechai Berg. He lived in he lived in Long Island City, but he always was very, very Zionistic. And we have hanging on my wall, you saw in my house. It means my parents both became religious when they were teenagers. They're the only religious ones in their family. And my grandfather collected stamps, and he has the first 9 stamps from the state of Israel. And my uncles, they're very Zionistic, but they don't really understand the significance, and they were saying we should sell it. And my father bought it from them so that they wouldn't sell it, and we keep it in our
Stamps.
house now, these stamps from Kol Medina, because it's so, even though it shows you don't have to live in Israel to be Zionistic
Right.
at that point. He couldn't come to Israel.
Right.
He had to stay in America. He had his whole family in America. But he was still very proud to be Jewish and proud of Israel.
Yeah, yeah. Well, both my husband is on a lot of different boards and has always worked with. And I've been to Poland with the UJA and Federation and the Jewish Agency and Joint. They have all these different groups like that. And we have loads of plaques like that one. We moved it over there. This is from the Yossi Berger Holocaust Center, where I feel very strongly about that. And I was honored all these different things. We feel very, very strongly about living here, about being Zionistic. And thank God we also have 4 children, 3 of them living here, and we have 22 grandchildren.
Wow.
Most of them living here, and we have 12 grandchildren with God's help, 14, and they're all living here. So we're very lucky too. And we have good friends.
It's after.
Well, she seems to be so happy now. And
Yeah.
yeah, her husband, your grandfather, I guess, used to go to my husband's kollel.
Raymond?
No, not Raymond.
Saba.
The one.
No, Noah.
Yeah, Saba. Noah.
Saba.
Did you say Raymond?
No, Raymond is Raymond and Saba is Noah.
Oh, okay, so Saba. Yeah. But we go with Raymond. We used to go to the same shul. But Noah, they were going to write a book together, economics and.
Yeah.
or
My
something.
dad's also in economics now.
My father likes that.
What?
My father likes that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He went, and also he was his professor.
What's your father's name?
David.
David. So I think I met him. Who was the one who took us